Hi, so we're back in the Philippines and we just recently came back from Osaka, Japan last, I think, January 5. Anyway, I did a whole vlog about that experience, and after editing that, I figured that there was a lot of things that I wanted to share, like my experience first time traveling with my toddler who's 15 months, why we chose to go to Japan, what we did there, and basically some things that I wish I knew before. Because before we went on a trip, I watch a lot of vlogs to get tips, advice, and everything else. If you haven't watched that video, I suggest you watch that video, and this is kind of like part two. So anyway, why Japan? First of all, my family loves going to Japan. We've been there, I think, in different places in Japan, more than I think 4 times, and we've been through different seasons. We visited when I was just in a relationship with my husband. We visited when we were married. We visited with my son, and now we get to visit Japan, well, experience it with my toddler. It's like a 4-hour flight from the Philippines. It's so easy to do a first time abroad trip. It's not long haul, and the time difference is, I think, just 1 hour, so it's not really a big deal. Plus, I live in a tropical country, so every time we travel, we just want to go to colder places. Also, we love the culture of Japan. Everything's so organized, and I think kind of safe in a way that you're not really concerned about like pickpockets. I mean, well, my experience is when I'm in Japan, I don't mind carrying a crossbody bag with it open, wearing it at my back. Like, I'm not concerned about losing something. Or also, you could also leave your stroller outside the restaurant and it's still there when you go back, even if your baby bag is there and everything. So I think that's a good reason why. Plus their food, it's really, really amazing. Why Osaka and not Tokyo? So Tokyo is a more busier city. I would say that Osaka is a bit more laid back. And I wouldn't really say more family friendly because Tokyo also is, but it's easier to get around, less busier, and Universal Studios is there. And the last time we visited Japan was Tokyo, so we wanted to switch it up a bit and visit Osaka. Our hotel experience was amazing. We stayed at the Hotel Nikko, which is along Shinseibashi. This is my mother-in-law's favorite hotel, and ours too. There's a train station at the bottom, so if you love to commute, it's just down there. And when you cross the street, all the stores are there. Like, Shinseibashi is a whole strip of stores. Like, they have all the posh stores like Chanel, Hermes. It's in front of an Hermes. All the other like drugstores, and there's Family Mart everywhere, and there's department stores. It's like a straight line, and it's also lined with some restaurants. And if you just go straight all the way to the end, it's Dotonbori. Dotonbori is the place where the Glico sign is, and all like the food are there. So it's quite a busy place, but it's all walking distance. I would say it's about like, maybe 2 to 3 blocks. And this whole Shinseibashi area is covered, so if it rains, it's not really an issue. Also, another hack that my husband does, whenever we're traveling, whether we stay in an Airbnb or a hotel, what he does is he goes and looks for the nice hotels and tries to map out their location. And when he checks Google Maps, it shows the other hotels and the Airbnbs around the area that are a lot cheaper. So there was, like, I remember when we were in London, he booked us a hotel. I think it was near Trafalgar Square, and the hotel right in front of it was expensive. And ours was just across the street with, like, I think half the price. And it was a fairly good hotel, but you wouldn't be able to find it. So I think using Google Maps is a good hack. And also an experience when I was about 18 and we went on a Euro trip with my cousin. We had a travel agency book our hotels. It wasn't as easy to book your own hotels during that time. It was more like travel agencies versus now, where you could just like book everything online and do it a lot cheaper. But I remember the travel agent, we were specifically requesting hotels that were near like the trains, just so it's easy to travel. But even if they were near the trains, what we didn't know was that the train itself had a long walk. What ended up was we were so tired, like walking around, traveling to get from one place to the other. And when you get into the museum, you were really tired and your feet hurt so much because you were walking around. And a lot of the times you were really tired with traveling and commuting that we weren't able to enjoy the museums as much. I would say like we were rushing out to it and trying to go to the next place. And I think if you look at it that way, if you were to add up like the cost of everything and staying in this hotel and dividing it per hour, you kind of get a price of how much staying in Japan would be per hour. And if I was like traveling for 2 hours a day and getting really tired, I think maybe, just maybe, it would be a lot smarter and cheaper if you get the right hotel to stay in a hotel that's a bit closer, even if it's a little bit expensive, because commuting is also expensive. And especially when you're with a kid, most of the time you have a stroller, you have to look for the elevators unless you're willing to carry that whole stroller with you the whole time. I can imagine the stress. But anyway, think about it. It might be helpful for you. Okay, so let's talk about our experience in Universal Studios. First of all, we traveled around January 1 to January 5. Ideally, we wouldn't want to travel in season, but my niece and my nephew had school, so this was the only time that we could. And I think it's a lot less busier versus if you travel around like after Christmas, like December 26, 27, because that was the time where everyone was traveling abroad. Everyone was in either Hong Kong or somewhere in Japan, like Tokyo, most of the time because of Disneyland. If you can travel, not in season, like good for you. So the next day, January 2, was the day we went to Universal Studios. And I think January 2 is somewhat still a bit of like a semi-holiday because not all the stores were open. I think Japan has like this holiday after like New Year, because on the last day of our trip, you could see a lot of locals with their kids going around. So there were really a lot of people. There were a lot of foreigners and the locals were out too. So the place was a bit busy. If you decide to go to Universal Studios, I suggest that you buy a ticket in advance. We got ours in Cloak. To get inside Nintendo World and Harry Potter, you need an express ticket. You first have to buy a ticket to your entrance to Universal Studios, and you can get this in Cloak. So buy that immediately. And after buying that, I remember the express pass to Nintendo World and Harry Potter wasn't available yet. So my husband was waiting for that because we just had to go to Nintendo World. Well, me actually, because I'm such a big Mario fan and might as well. You're there, right? We've been to Harry Potter before, so it wasn't really high on our priority this time. So when eventually the tickets were available, my husband was surprised because the tickets to Nintendo Land, the express tickets to Nintendo Land was already sold out. And the only one available was the one to Harry Potter and Nintendo World. So he just had to buy that. So it was a bit more expensive, but we really didn't have a choice. So fine, might as well. The entrance is timed, so you can't just go inside Harry Potter or Nintendo anytime you want. So Nintendo was our priority and our schedule was around 5 p.m. A few weeks later, my husband noticed that the prices went up for our tickets, that eventually were sold out. Also, regarding those tickets, because they give you a QR code, don't print them because sometimes they're machines, they don't read the print, even in the airport. They don't read the printed thing. It's better to use your phone to scan it. Okay, so we scheduled our day around Universal Studios. We decided to drive off to Universal Studios much later to avoid the lines. So we had a van pick us up around 12 p.m. So we had lunch early around 11, then our van picked us up at 12 and we got there and we went around first and we waited for 5 p.m. to get into Nintendo World. Our Harry Potter ticket was, I think, much later, around 7. And since we had kids and my in-laws were senior citizens, we really didn't have plans on staying too late. So when 5 p.m. came and we fell in line for Nintendo World, the line was pretty long and they were checking our tickets, well, our QR codes for Express Pass. And there was this girl who was begging entry and saying where she could buy a ticket, how she was asking the ushers and telling them that it was the whole reason why her family went to Japan was for Universal Studios. And she was saying that she didn't know that you needed to buy an Express Pass. And I think that was really sad. So buy your Express Pass. Don't forget to buy your Express Pass, because there was no way she could get it because it was sold out like months in advance. So anyway, when you get inside Nintendo World, You go inside a tunnel and it opens up to this place which is so beautiful, but to get around it you have to go down steps. So we saw a lot of strollers parked outside that tunnel, and we decided to park our stroller there because you had to go downstairs. But once you go down those stairs, like, it's pretty much flat. And we also learned that there was like an elevator at the side. So if you really needed your stroller, you could. And I think Nintendo World was a bit small because we were in a rush. We were really tired. So when we went there, we were just looking at all the things just to take everything in. And the first thing we did was have a picture with Princess Peach. The queue wasn't so long. Also, if you have a toddler and you want to take a photo, I recommend taking a video instead and just take screenshots after if you want a photo. That was really helpful because most of the time you can't get them to look at the camera or something, or someone wasn't looking. So what I wanted to do in Nintendo World was really shop merch. So we did that immediately. And the place was quite packed. There were a lot of people there. And if it's getting too cold, it's nice to hang out inside because it's really warm. I wanted to go to the Yoshi ride, but the Yoshi ride was about 120 minutes wait time. And if you're single, it was around 90 minutes. So it was too long, and there's no way with a toddler that we could last that long in a line without someone having a meltdown. So maybe next time, but if you have the chance to get on that, like, get on that, because I think it's like that train that goes around the whole place. There's this new thing, Donkey Kong. So we went in that just to have a look, and there was this big Donkey Kong character. It was really huge, it was like a lot taller, that we wanted to take a photo, but we were just so concerned because my daughter was looking at Donkey Kong with a weird way. She was like staring at it. So we figured that if we had a photo, she might be scared. So we didn't do that, but that was something that I wanted to do. So anyway, that was our whole experience in Universal. We didn't have time to go to Harry Potter, which was okay because we've been there before also. For Nintendo World, we went to the kiddie area, Elmo's World, and there were a lot of rides there. And we went through the carousel and it was super fun. The queue was quite short and the ride was even shorter, but it was fun. At least it was my daughter's first time to get in on a carousel. My sister-in-law went with her kids. They went on this like parachute flying ride that like goes around, and their line was around 60 minutes. My niece and my nephew slept in the line because it was taking so long. So there wasn't really a lot to do because the queues were so long, but we had so much fun. Okay, so let's talk about winter packing and winter shopping. You might not need this, but I'm from the Philippines. I live in a tropical country. So it's my first time to bring my daughter to a place that has winter. And since she's not really able to tell me if she's cold or something, it's kind of nerve-wracking for me. So I did a lot of research. It was around 5 degrees Celsius there. She had like heat tech base layers, and then I dressed her in like pants from Carter's that I got from Amazon that were fleece lined. I got her like a puffer jacket that I borrowed from my niece, which was really nice, on her top, and she had like a thick sweater and then the puffer jacket. And we had a beanie for her, but I had beanies that were wool, so I made her wear that. Oh, also I got her boots, cheap boots from Shopee, but it was the same ones as the ones in Amazon. So it's thick. It's kind of like Uggs with glitters, and it's lined with something inside. So I got that for her, and I also got her wool socks from Amazon. She's obviously not potty trained or anything. There were 2 layers of pants that I had to remove just to change her diaper, and I think that was a bit stressful. But since we got her the nice diapers for the whole trip, she uses the Mommy Poco diapers, and they last really long, and they don't really leak. They're really huge on her, like it wraps up her whole hips. If you're traveling with a kid, get like the best diaper you can because it's gonna save all the blowouts, and you need to do like less frequent diaper changes. But I learned from someone that during winter time, for non-potty trained kids, they get them these Carhartt pull-ups like pants, puffer pants, and like a jacket, just so when they have to change the diaper, it's just like one layer. I want to do that maybe next time. If you live in a tropical country like me, it's kind of hard to get clothes for winter here. So luckily we had Uniqlo that sells heat tech, so I was able to get her heat tech. But when we arrived in Japan, the heat tech there was relatively cheaper. Like obviously, like I think it was at least a fourth of the price cheaper. Eating out in Osaka is relatively easy, I think, for kids. Well, easier. Their ramen places were smaller, but the restaurants were actually nice. That they would let you leave your stroller outside, or they would give you a seat with space for your stroller or a high chair. I think our area was in a tourist area, so they were used to having kids too. We actually did a brave thing and ate in Ichiran. If you don't know what Ichiran is, it's like this cubicle, and it's like for a one-person thing. It's like you're almost taking a test, and the window inside opens up and they give you your ramen and you eat there. So the lines are a bit long depending on the time. We brought my daughter there and she was just on my lap and we were eating. They were nice enough that we were able to park our stroller on the side and we were eating. And when my husband was done, I just passed my daughter. And surprisingly, we did it really fast. So eating in Osaka is quite easy. Maybe just don't bring the kid to a bar type restaurant, more of like restaurants with seating. We also brought our daughter to a yakiniku, which was really cramped, but we just left our stroller outside and easy peasy. It was so fun. Okay, so let's talk about the toddler experience. I think in general, Japan is a nice place to visit for your first time if you have a kid, because the place is just so organized, and as I said, it's very much laid back. Even if not everyone speaks in English, it's so easy because everyone's really friendly, and if you just ask someone will just point you to the right direction. Also, there's this app like Mama Papa something app. It's like a map that shows you all the restaurants for kids eating, lactation rooms and like diaper changing rooms and elevators and stuff, and it's really helpful. But I found that when I was in Osaka, I didn't really have to use it. Everything was so easy, and there were like a lot of restrooms with diaper changing areas. Also, when you go inside the restroom, they have this like chair built in on the wall where you could like put your daughter. I didn't really have to use that, but it's nice to know. And I think they also have that in like restrooms for men, which is I think very considerate and amazing. Getting around in Japan I think is fairly easy if you have a stroller or if you have a carrier. I suggest that you bring both. So my daughter hated her stroller in the beginning, but eventually we learned that we had to let her walk a bit, tire her out a bit, and eventually she'll sit on the stroller willingly, and then we could go around the place. She's not really used to having naps in her stroller, but since we were very active and we were so busy going from one place to the other, she willingly took naps in the stroller. I didn't really have to pull out the carrier because normally here in the Philippines, like she would take naps in the carrier. She has to be on me. But she's really heavy. Her size is for a 2-year-old and she's around like 90th percentile. So if I put her on her carrier, she would be really heavy and I would be really tired. So my goal was really to put her in a stroller. And I think maybe if your toddler is a bit lighter, a carrier would be really helpful. But I also saw some parents, they had, like me, they had a stroller and a carrier. So I think that would be good. Definitely in the airport, I think a carrier is more useful because you're hands-free versus a stroller. Also, when you gate check your stroller and you try to maneuver inside the plane and do all that scanning boarding pass and stuff, like it's a lot easier. I think both. And if you're not using one, just leave it in the hotel. Also, age. My daughter's age, I think she's 1 year and 3 months, and I think this age is actually good for traveling. Only because she's already eating normal food. Like I didn't have to pack extra food for her, like those squeezy things. Like she ate whatever we ate. I just brought like snacks just in case. But I find that she didn't really get them. Like she loved Japanese food, and whatever either she was eating, she loved ramen. She likes the teppanyaki, and she loved like the breakfast buffet. She was eating fish with rice and like eggs, and if you've been to Japan, you know that their food is amazing. So really glad that my daughter got to enjoy that as much as we did. Also, she's drinking fresh milk. We just got milk that was enough for the plane and just for like one whole day. Her doctor actually said that the milk in Japan was amazing, so we bought the rest of her milk in Family Mart, which was fairly easy to find. And oh my god, their milk is so good. Like, it's so creamy. Yeah, and I found myself like drinking fresh milk too. Also with diapers, I suggest you buy your diapers. Although Japan has like amazing diapers. My daughter is wearing Mommy Poco, and that's a Japanese brand. Diapers are not so widely available in Family Mart, in 7-Eleven, and in Lawson. I found diapers, but just like the small travel diapers that weren't even in my daughter's size. So I think the diapers are available in groceries, and I think you might have to go out of your way and go to a grocery, which is something that I don't really want to do when I'm in Japan, especially with a toddler. Like, I would rather just have everything inside my bag and not stress about that. Planning a trip, making an itinerary, shopping with a toddler is completely different. Like, our schedule wasn't really jam-packed, but when we were there, I found that in my mind, there are a lot of things that we weren't able to do. I was expecting that we were able to go shopping, and the only time we were able to go peacefully shopping was when my daughter was napping, and that was about like a 1 hour to 2 hour window. So we had to do like the important priority shopping, so we were able to do that. So that's it. That's my whole experience and trip. It's so much fun. It's a bit chaotic, but it's one for the books, and I suggest it. Just go, travel and have fun. Hope this was helpful. Bye.